Thanks for staying with us here on The Real Story. March isn't just Nutrition Month, it's also Women's History Month. This all started as Women's Week back in 1978. Then between 1988 and 1994, Congress authorized presidents to proclaim the month of March as Women's History Month, celebrating and honoring the countless women who fought for justice and equality across the nation. Here in Connecticut, our state is home to many influential and impactful women. And here with me now to discuss, Rachel Lenda, Connecticut's Director of Tourism, and Hermes, former CCSU professor and publisher of Connecticut Explored. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Yes, I'm happy to have you. So Rachel, I want to start with you real quick. Just tell us a little bit about what it means to be the Director of Tourism for the state of Connecticut. How long have you been in the role?
So I've been in this role for just about over a year now. And what I tell people is I don't have to do this, I get to do this. And I think it's an incredible opportunity to share the stories of Connecticut business owners, Connecticut residents who are making their livelihood out of making experiences here in Connecticut unforgettable. We're leaving soul imprints on everybody who comes into Connecticut. I mean, we're the pizza capital of the United States now, so we have to make sure that we're living up to our name of being exciting, vibrant, energetic, and also historical. And we've got some pretty amazing historical women that have been trailblazers that have paved the way. I mean, Ella Grasso, she was the first female governor in the entire country, so pretty cool.
And Kathy, tell me a little bit about what Connecticut Explored is.
So we're a quarterly magazine just about Connecticut history, and we have different themes every quarter so that we try to focus on the stories all around Connecticut of every group.
Yeah, wonderful. I love it. So, Rachel, I want to start with, as you mentioned Ella Grasso, which, you know, for me as a political nerd is so great. But of course, tell us a little bit more about what some of the attractions are that we have here in Connecticut which honor women's history, because we know we have quite a few and people might not even realize that those names are from historical women.
I know, it's incredible. So Connecticut has a Connecticut Women's Heritage Trail. So there are 15 sites on this trail, and they're statewide, right, corner to corner. And we'll start up in Canterbury, Connecticut, which is the Prudence Crandall Museum. And this is a seasonal museum where you can go and experience the stories and the retelling of Prudence Crandall, who is Connecticut's state heroine, of her opening up the boarding school to allow African-American women the chance to have an education. And there are many influential women that have stepped through those doors that have carved the way through this entire country, not just here in Connecticut. And then we go down to Old Saybrook and we go to the Katharine Hepburn Cultural Arts Center. And I think what's really cool about the Cultural Arts Center is Katharine Hepburn, her family legacy, her mother was a suffragist, and she paved the way for the women's rights movement. So really, really influential, very cool things.
And that's one of our newer museums, right?
It is, yep, the Kate. And it also tells incredible historical stories and plays and movies and things like that. She wasn't just a great actress. She came from good stock, that one.
And Kathy, I know the focus for you and for this month, and I know you have something in Connecticut Explored you want to show us as well, but is a little focus on the American Revolution. Yes. So tell us a little bit about some of those women and what some of the stories are that you're focusing on this month.
I just want to mention, too, I'll be giving a talk on this subject at the Greenwich Historical Society on the 8th and in New Haven on the 19th.
Wow.
But yeah, some of these women are just fantastic. So, you know, there's some that are kind of legendary, like Abigail Hinman from New London. There's a wonderful portrait of her, actually, in the Lyman Allen Museum that was painted about 75 years after the event. But she allegedly grabbed a rifle from the rack and shoved it out her window to shoot at Benedict Arnold when he was attacking their home site. Wow. But then we have people like Judith Lines, who I think is just a fascinating person. She was the daughter of a black woman and an indigenous man from Windham, and she was married to a Revolutionary War soldier who was killed. She then married another Revolutionary War soldier and became a camp follower and got smallpox at the Battle of the Highlands. extraordinary woman who, legend says, was offered a job by George Washington, but she turned it down.
Wow.
So fascinating stories about women who are so committed to the revolution. The women of Hartford, for example, they had to make 1,000 shirts and 1,200 vests to supply to the Continental Army in just 1 year. Yeah, very dedicated.
And as we talk about these women, as you said, it's kind of a wide range of some of the more famous ones. You know, we have the Stowe Center here, which I'm sure a lot of people know. But then some of the other women who you've mentioned that I'm sure people probably haven't even heard of, which I think is the beauty of this month, is for people to learn about these lasting impacts, you know, whether it be just on our state or on the country. Can you talk a little bit more about, you know, why it's important to know these women's impact just more than during the month of March?
Yeah. Well, I mean, these women contributed a lot to our state over time, but also they're exemplars for women today. People like Judith Lines, for example, who, you know, went to war. Now, she wasn't able to be a soldier, but we've had many women who have joined the National Guard, have gone to war over the course of these last, many years, really. And that kind of dedication persists. And I think we've also seen women who have contributed so much economic power to the state.
Absolutely.
And, you know, back in the Revolutionary War, it was making homespun clothing and showing their ideals by what they wore, showing their republicanism by the clothing they chose. Well, today we do the same thing. We make statements by what we wear and what we do. And these are continuous lines of empowerment.
And Rachel, if people want to experience this month, if they want to know more about this important history in Connecticut, where can they go? I know there are some happenings over the next couple of weeks.
For sure. Now, outside of your two talks, which are very important, there are some other events happening around the state. And if we go to the Palace Theater in Waterbury, they're hosting some talks about the Women's Historical Month and influential women that have paved the way for our generation and the generations to come. My little 3-year-old daughter, her generation to come. Yeah. If we also go to the Slater Museum in Norwich on March 20th, there is an event happening there to talk about all the women who have been influential into the Slater Museum itself. And then the Wethersfield Chamber of Commerce does their International Women's Day vendor celebration. Wow. So it's women-owned businesses, artisans, makers, creators, innovators, and women who believe in the power of doing great and good things. Yeah. And that's happening on March 22nd. So there's plenty happening statewide. And if you are interested in checking out more events, you can always go to ctvisit.com, which has a nice feature on the Women's History Month and more events happening.
And you, Kathy, you mentioned some of those through lines. And Rachel, you mentioned your daughter. You know, I know she's only 3, but tell me a little bit about how you would explain this month to her and what it means for her to grow up in a state like Connecticut, which has been shaped by so many of these powerful women.
Absolutely. So I think it starts with an incredible attitude, and you know, there's walking the walk and then talking the talk. Right. And if I exude what it means to be a confident, powerful woman in my own right, and I set that example for my daughter, you know, it's not easy navigating this world. It's a tough world, especially today. But, you know, if I stay true to being kind, thoughtful, and generous to the people around me and work hard and stay true to my core values as who I am as a human being, then I think that the world is unstoppable. And I think that will be the best role model she could ever have. And I encourage her to be herself. And you know, I'm in my own lane. I'm not looking at the other lanes to my right and left. And I think that's what makes a woman powerful. That's what I think makes a person powerful, is to focus on their best efforts.
Kathy, for you, is there anything top of mind that you want people to take away from this month? Or if they can't make your talk, any, you know, top story or top figure that you'd really want them to know about?
Well, first of all, you know, we're getting ready for the 250th celebration of the birth of the country. And of course, the war, the American Revolution, started 250 years ago in 1775. And I think what I'd like to focus on really is the collective effort of women at the beginning of our nation, and they were indigenous, they were black, they were European, to shape the country, to give meaning to equality, maybe in a way that some of the men didn't quite expect. So let's focus on those origins and what women contributed, because I think it is often forgotten, but was absolutely critical.
Well, Kathy, Rachel, thank you so much. And Rachel, you said if people want to learn more, ctvisit.com?
Yes, and that's all things to do. That's fun, activities, events. You can always check that out, ctvisit.com. And you can also see what's happening for this weekend and upcoming weekends. And, you know, we always like to hop on here on Friday mornings and visit our friends at Fox 61 with what's happening in Connecticut.
Yes, well, thank you so much for giving us a little peek into this history, and hopefully people can check out and learn more the rest of the month of March. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That does it for us here now on The Real Story. But if you want to watch these segments again, you can head to fox61.com or download the free Fox 61 News app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61 or streaming on Fox 61 Plus. Have a great rest of your morning.